Hello and welcome to Robin Minds. My name is Hero Daniels. Many thanks for joining us. As Nigeria edges closer to the 2027 general elections, the political landscape is already shifting. And fast. In recent months, prominent opposition figures have crossed over to the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, citing alignment with the national political survival or better prospects. But these defections waves raise serious questions about the strength of Nigeria's opposition. Is our country drifting towards a one-party state? Are ideologies and accountability now secondary to personal ambition? And what does this mean for democracy when opposition voices are either being silenced or absorbed? On today's show, we're going to explore the state of the opposition politics in Nigeria, what is driving the defections, and how it is affecting public trust, and whether true political alternatives still exist. To discuss defection season, is Nigeria's opposition on life support. Is a governance consultant, Dapo Aderemewa. Welcome to the program, Dapo.
It's a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good to see you again. I can see that you have a new look. The mustache really looks good on you.
Thank you very much. I'm trying my Herbert Macaulay look.
That you do look like Herbert Macaulay. Let's dive straight right into it. We've seen heavyweights like Governor Umar of Akwa Ibom, Governor Sharif of Delta State, and Peter Mba of Enugu State, just to mention a few. We've seen senators, House of Reps members, and even political heavyweights from other parties, going to the APC, and it seems like the current government is doing a heavy grab leading up to 2027. What do you make of all the defections?
People are moving because they have the freedom, they have that right. It's, I think it goes to show part of the problem that we're dealing with in Nigeria, in the sense that there doesn't seem to be, for most candidates anyway, most politicians, any, shall we say, philosophical underpinning to the parties that they are in. It's just a merger of people who are in pursuit of power and are aligning themselves to pursue that power. And that's what we're seeing play out, right? Because there is this myth that's being sold that the next election is an absolutely locked and done deal. And so naturally, a lot of these political candidates, in order to secure their own future, are defecting from their parties, defecting from the very people who voted them in, the people who believed in a new platform, the people who believed in something different, turning their backs on all those individuals and aligning themselves with what they think strategically is the best move. Now, it's up to the people who will decide. Eventually, it's not a function of political party. The power still rests with the people. And so the Nigerian people will on that day decide who exactly they want to be their leader.
All right, Dapo. Do you think Nigerian political parties run on ideology? Take, for example, in the United States, you have the Democrats, you have the Republicans, and these two parties have clear-cut ideologies. What a Democrat would say is, the beliefs of a Democrat is sometimes different from the beliefs of a Republican. Now, do you think the APC, the PDP, the Labour Party, and all the political parties that we have, do we have any party that has a clear-cut ideology?
Unfortunately, Nigerian political environment hasn't really evolved to that level. So there are no parties I would think that have any strong, shall we say, ideological underpinnings. There are candidates who are representatives of certain parties who have strong ideological underpinnings, who have a strong stance on against things like corruption, embezzlement. We do have those kind of individuals, but as a political system itself, unfortunately, it's just a melting pot. But that's not it's not the end of the world when you think about it. Our political environment is evolving and things will continue to change. And it's ultimately, the politicians are a reflection of what the people choose eventually. So if the people start to align themselves with people who are, shall we say, they have a philosophy and they stand in it, if people start to vote in that direction, politicians will act in that way. So in many ways, you could say a politician, as the old saying goes, is a night walker. He will go with whoever he thinks will give him what he wants, which is power. And so if the Nigerian people start to give power to people who have philosophical underpinnings, people who have substance, and not just people who are just there going to talk to us and motivate us with 5 to 10K, then we will see a change in that area.
Right. Let me play the devil's advocate for a second here. When you hear opposition governors say things like they are trying to align their states to the center, they are trying to bring projects to their states because of, they are now members of the APC. Two questions. The first is, do you think the center is withholding the resources that is supposed to be allotted to a particular state simply because of their political leader is in opposition? And then secondly, is it just a ploy to give credibility to why they switched their parties?
I think there's some reason to it. I believe there is some reason to it. I think it was not under this APC. If we can call it two separate APCs. The APC under Buhari, there was a time that during their campaign, they said if you have committed any sins, if you have been charged with anything, you just join APC and all your sins are forgiven. We know that our political parties, they look after their own. And in many ways, maybe that is also affecting the way resources are distributed and the kind of support that states get. It would be nice to see that, after election, we put aside politics, and we focus on the issue of governance, and that I've always been an advocate for governance. And in a lot of the talks that I have, I always push forward the idea that we should put governance as our number one priority. It would be nice to see if, we had a political system where that worked out. But unfortunately, going by what they're saying, that is what is happening. I'm sure they are gaining a lot personally as well. Let us not fool ourselves into thinking that this is all about the people. There must be some material benefit to these actors for them to, swing.
Now, Dabo, beyond the political party, because before now, we would naturally depend on the judiciary. Some political actors would depend on the judiciary to give judgments or pass judgments on some political matters. But some people are of the school of thought that, the three arms of government have been collapsed into one. I mean, there's still three on paper, but a lot of people think it's one because the center controls every arm of the government, allegedly. So typically in such situations, you see that, oppositions would actually run to the courts and, make their demands heard and say, okay, we're not receiving X and Y resources. We're actually suing the federal government because of this. Now, now that it seems like the opposition is dying, the judiciary, a lot of people are saying, have not been as efficient as they should. What is now the hope for the common man in such a situation like this? Are we in a mess?
Thank you very much. I think I will start by correcting one thing. I don't think the opposition is dying. I don't think so at all. The opposition is in the hearts of every Nigerian who is opposed to policies that are not benefiting them. That is where the opposition lives. The political actors are just doing what they do, but the Nigerian people are by and large opposed to some of the policies that have been brought in by this government. Now, in regards to how all of this plays out, the centralization of power, it is fundamentally a very problematic issue. Now, we look at this alleged issue of a coup that, they're saying almost happened, did happen. We don't really know. Some newspapers have put it out there that it did happen. Now, that is a worrying trend, right? And things like this come by when power is too centralized. When people feel that the power is so centralized to the central that if somebody was to capture the central, they in effect capture the entire state. That is a problem. That is a very dangerous precedent for people to set. I mean, you look at the American system, for example, the president of America has his very strong, shall we say, his strong perspectives, but he is facing severe challenges in the courts. He's facing severe challenges from civil bodies. He's facing challenges in different areas in terms of executing his master plan. And that's how a democracy should work. There should be independent bodies within a democracy, but we're not seeing that. And it's a very dangerous way to go. I'm sure the people in power now are enjoying it because they feel, shall we say, undefeatable. But when we build systems that pose a threat to long-term democracy for short-term benefits, we are setting ourselves up for future problems.
Okay, well said. Well, you mentioned that the people are the opposition, and in as much as the opposition political parties are failing, when the people decide that enough is enough, we're going to take Nigeria back. However, there are laws, there are rules. Candidates have to run via a political party. Structures have to be in place. A coalition, is happening. A lot of people are hopeful about the coalition. Now, do you think with the structure the APC has currently, do you think there's enough time before 2027 for anybody to build such a sustainable structure and run by the books and run on paper and run via a political party and defeat the incumbent government in 2027?
Okay. Now, this issue of structure, it's often touted as the key component in the Nigerian political system. Now, structure is only necessary when you are seeking, to manipulate certain things. There should be no need for structure in the sense that if the Nigerian people align with a particular candidate, they should have the free will to be able to go out and vote. There's no need for, any other, shall we say, any other structure. Let's put it that way. But let us face the reality. Structure is very important. And the question of if it is possible between now and 2027, 100% it is very, very possible. I will say something that is a bit unconventional and something that even wherever we stand on the political divide, we should be grateful as Nigerians that we have the democracy that we have. We should be grateful as Nigerians that we have the democracy we have. It might not be perfect, it might not be world standard, but I tell you what, when I look at what is happening in Cameroon, that a 92-year-old man who is living in Switzerland is winning their election, I thank God that in my own, it might be rigid, it might be rigged, but at least there's still a fighting chance. So if we as a people hold on to this idea that there is still a fighting chance despite the odds, and we come out and do our due diligence, then I believe the gods will smile down on us and allow the Nigerian people and their will to win, whatever candidate they choose. But the important thing is that the Nigerian people come out, take part in the process, and express their opinions.
Okay, so well said, Datbo. I also want us to be very practical, okay? We have Atiku Abubakar of the PDP. We don't know if he's going to clinch the party's ticket. Also, we've seen the coalition with the ADC. Peter Obi, right now, we don't even know whether he's running via the Labour Party or he's going to run via ADC. A lot of things are still blurring, and in political permutations, a lot of people would say that, the earlier certain things are defined, the better, so Nigerians know what they're preparing for. Now, what do you make of all of these uncertainties currently?
Truth be told, there is only one anti-establishment candidate in Nigeria today. There is only one candidate that stands out as something different, right? And that is what happened in the last election. That's what we saw, because he came up with millions of votes who otherwise were not participating in the political system. So I think a cold analysis of the reality of the situation would suggest that any coalition that is to be effective must have him as the front runner and somebody suitable as the vice. Right? That is the only strategy that is really going to work. But history has taught us that the egos of men sometimes are insurmountable. Right. And people are willing for everything to fail in order to protect their own interests. So I can give you an opinion now, but I will just be adding to the speculation. We will see how it plays out. But my own is that as for me and the people that I speak to, I encourage everybody that regardless of what happens, you come out and you vote in alignment with your values. Nobody should sit down at home. That's the important part. Whether you are even voting for the current government, fantastic, come out and vote. I say the problem in Nigeria is not people who came and voted for APC, PDP, Labour Party. The problem is the people, the millions, the almost 60% of people who have a PVC that sat down at home on election day. They are the problem with Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much, Datbo, for coming on to the program, and we wish you all the best.